And then let's move on to the comprehensive agreement, because I think this is like the second big whopper of the interview, and I'm really interested in your opinion on it. And this will also be the wrap up, because it has been under close scrutiny, right? The CAI, since the end of the last year, there were many discussions. Why did it happen so quickly after it was being negotiated for so long, and so on? There are also many discussions whether it will be implemented and how. Can you explain what does it include and what is the current status?
Yes, I mean, the Comprehensive Agreement on Investment, or CAI, is a remarkable document, achievement. It's a breakthrough agreement. It's far more liberal, sophisticated, and open than any other investment agreement that China has ever concluded. Okay. For example, CAI has an entire chapter dedicated to sustainable development, okay, including both labor and environmental standards. The commitment to labor and social standards, including ILO conventions, mm-hmm, very important, yeah, actually came as a surprise to many of us. Mm-hmm. It wasn't expected. So this is the strongest statement that China, and indeed many other countries, have ever made in an investment agreement regarding the support for sustainable development. And of course, that is consistent with what we have already discussed in this interview, right? China's embrace of the SDGs, mm-hmm, and including their 3 pillars. Mm-hmm. So I think that's incredibly important to note. There are many innovations in this agreement. There are also remarkable advantages to the EU and to EU business. Before I turn to that, though, I should also mention that some of the market access commitments that China has made to the EU include, better management regarding oil refining, okay, cutbacks on cement production, which we just saw as a criticism of BRI, mm-hmm, as well as types of smelting, as well as the phasing out of fossil fuel cars in favor of electric vehicles.
Wow. Okay, that's
That's
big one.
in the market access. Yeah, that's in the market access commitments, which actually just came out on March 12th. So I think those are all very important sustainable dimensions of CAI. But as I've just indicated, CAI is noteworthy regarding the very generous market openings it's giving to the Europeans, to the EU. And this is in both China's services and non-services, that is to say, manufacturing sectors. Okay. CAI is the first agreement, Emi, where China takes binding commitments for investment in non-services sectors, right? Wow. And this plays to the EU's strengths, particularly in car manufacturing and basic materials. Yes. These non-services commitments are only, and I stress, only available to EU investors. Okay. No other countries, including the US and the UK, get these benefits. CAI also offers new market openings to EU investors that go beyond China's own national laws, including investments in healthcare, electric car manufacturing, cloud services, which used to be prohibited, but are now open to European companies, mm-hmm, computer reservation services, and international maritime transport services, including multimodal transport. Okay. Now, such concessions are bound to give EU investors many legs up on foreign competition in China. Mm-hmm. As I think you can see here, mm-hmm, under CAI, the EU is being substantially favored, and that really needs to be appreciated, mm-hmm, in Europe.
Yeah, that is quite impressive. I mean, what does, if I want to play the advocatus diaboli, what does China get out of it? I mean, why do they make such like great concessions?
Well, you know, China has been between a bit of between a rock and a hard place internationally in well, really the last few years as a result of pressures imposed on China by the Trump administration. And you will note that CAI was concluded in the interim between the outgoing Trump administration and the incoming Biden administration. So this was a way in which China and the EU, pursuing, if you like, strategic autonomy, could steal a march on the US. And China would prefer, actually, to favor the EU, given the current hostile international political climate it faces, which China sees as emanating from the US. China has, for a long time, actually, sought to favor the European Union and to favor Europe. That there are strategic reasons for that, but also in terms of what is being sought to be achieved through BRI. I mean, for BRI to be successful for all of Eurasia, the EU has to be on board.
Yeah.
If the EU is not on board, then it's not going to, it will flop. It will never be fully achieved, and Eurasian regional integration will not be achieved either. So China has its reasons. There's a whole range of reasons, really. But I think the strongest one is that China actually quite sincerely and fervently seeks to have much closer relations, both with the EU and the member states, as well as with the European people.
Okay, so that's also very strategic, like everything China does at the moment. Can you tell us what the current status of the agreement is?
Yes, well, I'm sure you've heard this too, since you're in Europe and even closer to the European Parliament than I am. But notwithstanding the great positives, some of which I've already explained to you, that CAI gives to Europeans, it's now being suggested that the CAI may not be ratified by the EU Parliament for years. Somewhat like what has happened, although it's actually quite different, but the EU-Canada CETA FTA is also still not ratified by the European Parliament.
I was in the External Action Service in the US-Canada division when they started negotiating. Yeah, I remember.
Okay. And apparently there's some problem right now with the Cypriots complaining about something to do with geographical indication. So that's still a problem in the Parliament, in the EU Parliament. But in any case, as we know, the major problem that may torpedo CAI relates to these controversies surrounding the tit-for-tat sanctions and boycotts over Xinjiang. And that needs to be sorted out. But in any case, I mean, if, just from a practical point of view, if it takes years for CAI to be approved, nearly all of the benefits of CAI will have lapsed.
Disintegrate.
Because China's a moving train, right? It's going to continue to liberalize. And the EU, as a result, and thanks to the European Parliament, would have squandered huge economic advantages. And all I hope here is that the EU Parliament as a whole will, I mean, Xinjiang is, actually Xinjiang's been part of China for over 2,000 years, so, or at least parts of it have, and now they're coming into the fray. But anyway, what I hope the EU Parliament will, the European Parliament will appreciate is the remarkably adroit negotiating abilities of the European Commission in achieving the spectacular, unprecedented results of the CAI.
Yeah.
Right? And which also support the EU's strategic autonomy.
Yeah. Definitely.
These are real, tangible benefits.
Yeah. Definitely. And also we have learned not only from history in general, but also especially in the last years and in the last months, that confrontation doesn't really work with China. So apart from the whole debate whether it makes sense or not to draw on the topic, the point is that it will not work because China does not react to confrontation in any way that leads to any positive resolution. The only way that does work with China is to find some platform of cooperation. And actually the BRI and the CAI would be the perfect platform to like acknowledge their forthcoming and also to include your own values, which has been done by the European Commission, and to find a win-win situation. I know it's been used a lot, this term, but this is what really works with Chinese partners and with Chinese decision makers, to find a win-win cooperation and to cooperate on a platform and not to confront any side with any issue, because this will simply not have any effect that is beneficial to anybody. I'm quite pragmatic about that, actually. So apart from these political like framing debates, what you already spoke a lot about the chances. Maybe you can repeat just a bit to like focus. What are the chances and the challenges of the CAI for the European Union? What is like what are the chances and what are the challenges?
Yes. And by chances, you mean the likelihood that it's going to be approved, or the going forward?
No, the benefits. I'm sorry. What are the benefits?
Okay. The benefits of CAI and the other point.
What are the benefits of the CAI and what are the challenges? So if we just like to sum it up, the positive and the challenges of this agreement, and that we hope will be ratified.
Yes. Well, I think just to sum up very briefly, I mean, clearly, from my perspective, the CAI gives Europeans generally, members of the European Union, just a whole host of benefits. I mean, and it's not just market access. I mean, there are strong commitments by China not to engage in forced technology transfer. And of course, this commitment, these sustainability commitments, including the adoption for the first time ever for China, and they're doing this for the EU, of including, environmental and social standards, including labor standards.
Yeah, that's
China's never done that before.
Yeah.
All right. This is bending over backwards for the European Union.
That's unprecedented.
And that includes ILO conventions that that the European Commission has asked China to accede to. So, this, of course, also directly relates to Xinjiang. If CAI goes forward, then any issues of a human rights nature or otherwise, directed towards the Uyghurs, can be dealt with under international labor, multilateral, ILO conventions. So, this is good too for resolving the current issue.
This is a great point for the current issue. I'm not sure the current decision makers and stakeholders are all aware of that.
Read the chapter on sustainable development. You can't miss it. It's a big chapter in CAI, and it treats these issues. And, you know, really, I mean, of course, I understand the European Commission has to remain neutral on these points, but I mean, simply to make it known about this huge accomplishment, negotiating accomplishment by the European Commission, to make that known to the European public, that, you know, there are all these commitments, and indeed there's going to be this will also involve in the future enforcement mechanisms. So you know, that are all related to sustainable development and to the protection of labor, and, you know, the promotion of values, social values that Europeans feel very strongly about. That's all built into the sustainability chapter of the CAI.
Yeah. So ratifying the CAI would be the best and the most effective way to ensure that China actually sticks to these provisions that we care about. Yeah.
Absolutely. And the European Commission has also brilliantly included what is called a binding and ratcheting mechanism, so that as far as the commitments China has made in the CAI, there can be absolutely no backsliding. Okay, it's enforced, it's enforceable. So you know, again, an excellent agreement, so many benefits to the EU. I mean, China has never made these many concessions to any other country, including, of course, the United States. So, I mean, and then we talk about the market access commitments. I mean, these are remarkable. I mean, China has never made these kind of commitments in non-service sectors, for example, related to various forms of manufacturing, which are going to play as I mentioned, to the strengths of particularly the Dutch countries. I mean, but, you know, other, you know, as we know, many European countries, their number one export is cars. I mean, you know, so whether you're talking about Sweden, you're talking about Germany, you're talking about Italy, what have you, France, I presume, you know, all of them, you know, cars are so important to the economy, and they make the best cars in the world. These are market openings to actually produce more cars in China, right? To actually have plants in China, to dominate, or certainly take a large market share in China, and also a very strong commitment to something that, again, is near and dear to Europeans' hearts, and that is, you know, less polluting vehicles. There are market access openings for European car manufacturers to enter the, you know, NEV, the new energy vehicle market in China, for the manufacture of electric vehicles alongside Chinese manufacturers. So again, that's a wonderful, wonderful concession that's been made.
Again, to draw the lines back to Austria, where I'm sitting right now, just thinking of the Winter Olympics and all the winter sport infrastructure, all the all the equipment, but not only equipment, but also the whole systems in the mountains and everything. This is what Austria is exporting, next to like large vehicles, for example, components, robotics, and so on. So all of this falls into this agreement. So fingers crossed, it will be ratified and it will not like go under in this whole debate that I'm sure is not informed. I think that's the problem. A debate in the European Parliament is great, but what I fear is that most decision makers and stakeholders are not properly informed about exactly what we've been talking about right now.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Amy.